This tutorial is written for people who have never used 3D Max. Its goal is to show basic navigation and to discuss the main elements. Before I start on any section of the tutorial, I'm just going to show basic navigation. So we're going to create a sphere. I really like to have this top button down here selected because then it will rotate around the selected object. In order to move our camera, or our perspective, we're going to hold down the middle mouse button and just drag the mouse around in a circle. In order to zoom in and out, we scrub the middle mouse wheel, and to rotate around an object, we hold down the middle mouse button, we hold down Alt, and then we rotate in this fashion. First, I'm going to show you how to make a model. We're going to expand our viewport with Maximize Viewport toggle in the bottom right here. We're going to select this tab, Create, and this tab, Geometry. Select Box, and drag out our width and then our height. In this scene, we are going to be creating a ping pong table. So I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to hit P for perspective. That is shown right here in the upper right hand corner. I like to work in two viewports, so I'm going to click this plus button here, go down to Configure, go to the Layout tab, hit these two, and then OK. If I go down to Maximize Viewport Toggle, you see I now have two. One is in top view, and then if you hit P again, that will put that in perspective. I don't like having grid showing, so I'm going to hit G to take away that. To edit this box, we're going to go to this tab, Modify, and I'm going to right-click on Box, Editable Poly, hit the face. So what all of these do, vertex is the individual edge points. You get this manipulator by hitting W or coming up and selecting this. So you can move the vertices around. Control Z is go back one, or you can hit this for undo. This is redo. Edge is these edges. Border, if you have a hole in your face, we'll select that edge there. I'm going to hit Control Z to go back, and I just hit Alt Q for that takes it into smooth highlight toggle, which is a different rendering setting. I'm also going to turn on edge faces. Faces is the individual edges here, and then element is an entire object. So what we're going to do is select the top face, and then you edit the polys in mainly these two areas. I'm going to hit Inset. That takes that in a little bit. Extrude takes it up a little bit. If I wanted to build in table legs, I could either make 4 new boxes like this and then bring them down in space, or I could go select the bottom face and hit Quick Slice, which should be here. This will snap, so now it's snapping to the midpoints. To tell 3D Max what to snap to, you can right click and it'll bring up this dialog, and I like having vertex and midpoint selected. So now I'm going to quick slice along the midpoints, select this edge, I'm going to chamfer it, which will bring it out, and then again select that, quick slice, and then snaps, and then chamfer once we've got the edge selected. The reason I like to chamfer it is it makes sure that it's even. Otherwise I could have just done 2 or 4 quick slices. So now we're going to take these 4 and turn off snaps and extrude them out. So now we've got a table. If we want to make a hockey puck on that table, let's go back to Create, Standard Assets, Cylinder. I'm going to turn on Auto Grid, and that's going to snap to whatever surface. So I bring it out, bring it up. Now I can affect how many subdivisions there are. I'm going to put this at 12 and bring this down to nothing. Editable poly. If we're going to make it look like air hockey, then let's bevel this so that brings the face up and then in a bit. Inset it. Bevel again. And then bevel again. And again. So if you take this off to edge faces, then you can see that this is a bit hard. In order to smooth that out, let's select faces and let's say grow, which will increase the area, and then hit go down in this dialog, go down to polygon smoothing groups and hit 1. Let's edit, select invert, and then deselect this bottom face, and then make sure all of this is cleared and hit 2. What that does is it makes both of those smooth, but it makes a hard edge around there because it's only including the faces with similar numbers are all going to be smooth in relation to each other. Now, as far as manipulating through the scene itself goes, this button will, if you hold it down, these are the different selection methods. So if we put it on circle, then everything within that circle is selected, and if you have a square, then everything within that square is selected. This determines whether or not everything inside the selection is selected or things touching the selection. This is move, so that is related to our XYZ coordinates. This is rotate, so you can move things around rotationally. This is scale, so this allows you to make things bigger or smaller. I don't know if you're working in X and A, like the people I'm making this tutorial for are going to be, but if we were going to be in Unity, we would want to make sure if we were rotating anything that it was rotating it on the right axis. And sometimes, in this case it's right, but if our pivot point was not right, just throw it off for the sake of demonstrating, and we pivoted, then it would be pivoting from there, and that would be weird. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to this, modify, click effect pivot only, and just drag this down to the bottom here. You can also turn on your snaps and snap it into place. Let's go into front. We go to front viewport by hitting F, L to go into left viewport, and then it's centered in both areas, so that's correct. And we hit effect pivot only again. I should go over those. So front, F, left, L, and then if you want another viewport, hit V, and it will bring up a list, and you could select back, top, bottom, or any of those. So just moving around, this is called orthographic view, which means that there is no perspective, and then P, again, will put us in perspective mode, as if we were looking through a camera. This pull-down menu right here determines what orientation our objects are in. So view would be determined on what viewport you're in. As you see right here, in this one, Y is it's changing depending on what view we're in. Right here. World, it's going to be the same no matter what. Local, it's going to be the coordinates of the object itself, so if it's turned, then that becomes Y. Well, let's just make sure that's on world. And the rest of this probably doesn't matter very much for the beginner user. Let's move on to animation. So this is our animated timeline. If we want something to move in space, keep in mind that there's 30 frames a second, so this is 1 second, this is 2 seconds, this is 3 seconds. So in order to animate, we want to hit Auto key, and then this timeline becomes red, and move it to your starting position. Then at 1 second, we want it to bounce to this end, so then these two keys were automatically made, and then at this frame, we want it to bounce to this position. So let's set in the other key at 90. Now if we want to change the length of this, we hit this button, time configuration at the bottom, and we can set our start and our end time. I'm going to end this at 90. And then this is in perspective. So now if we hit play, then you can see it goes along that. You can sort of see as it goes that it slows down a little bit when it hits. So if we want to affect that, then we go to graph editor at the top and we hit curve editor. Now imagine this is time and this is position in XYZ. So it's slowing down because the curve slows down here. If you wanted it to just hit and go fast, then you would change that curve. So you change it with these tangents. And you change the tangents with hitting these buttons. That's just for fine-tuning. Alright, let's move on to modeling, or I'm sorry, texturing. So let's hit we can hit, oh gosh, it's been so long. So up here for material editor, or you can hit M to automatically open it. When you're done animating, let's turn off auto key, otherwise when you set parameters inside your material editor, they will be animated as well. So let's just go and get an air hockey picture off the internet. And then drop that into our diffuse slot. That's going to be our main color. This button will make sure that you can see it in your viewport. And then we apply it. So that's sideways. How we fix that is we go to the modifier list and we go down to UVW map, and then we turn it, oh I'm sorry, so you want to open this and make sure gizmo is selected, and then you want to turn it. If you want to turn it a specific amount, which we do, right click this rotate button and we can see that it's our Z that we want to rotate, because Z is blue, red is X, and green is Y. So let's go in and type 90 degrees here and just hit fit. Stretch this out a bit, and when we're happy with that, we can collapse it. If you want different materials to be on this object, then let's hit standard up here, multi-sub-object, keep old material as sub-object, and this is going to be our air hockey table. And let's delete all these because we don't need them. This is just going to be our black table. We're going to change this color here. If we want it to be shiny, then we do that in the specular color right here, and you can affect the fall off. The preview is going to show up here, and if you double click it, you can see a larger version right here. Now, if you go back to here, you see this is 1 and this is 2. That correlates to down here, right here in set ID. So this is 1. I'm going to go to edit, select invert to select all the other vertices, and I'm going to set this to 2. And now all of these are going to be on the second material ID. If you turn off edge faces, you can see that better. So let's make a second material for the air hockey puck. Let's make this sort of white and bring up the specularity so it's very shiny. If we're taking this into another engine, then a lot of these other things don't matter. And let's apply it with this button. And make sure that show texture is on if you have textures on there. And now we have an air hockey table. So now let's throw a light into our scene. We're going to go up to create, and we're going to go to lights here, and we're going to change this to standard, and we're going to select an omni light and position this over our table. T for top, Control V to zoom in. And that will light our scene. So next thing we're going to do is create a camera. Let's go to the camera tab and hit target. Go to the left viewport and drag this down. In here we can select perspective, cameras, camera 1. Under camera 1, I'm going to select show safe frames, and that's going to show what our renderable area is. And now we can see this is going back and forth. So that we can change what our camera is seeing by doing this and moving around. In order to render it, now we're going to go to this guy, render setup. And if we want to do, we're going to select active time segment to get this entire thing, or single if we just want a single frame. You can change how large the image is right here, 640 by 480, 720, 800. But I'm going to keep it at 640 by 480. And then we go down here and we hit File, and we decide where we want to save it. And we'll select our file. So if we want an AVI, then we're not going to have transparency in there. So we would select Save, tell it what compression we wanted, and then again, making sure active time segment is selected, we would hit Render and make sure that camera 1 is selected because this is going to be the viewport out which it is rendering. I'm not going to do that. Another option if you want the transparency embedded is you can save it out as Targa files. So go there, go to Setup, and then save it out. Once it saves, you're going to be able to decide if you want an alpha map built into it. If you want transparency built in, then you do want an alpha map. Another way, if you want alpha to be rendered separately, is go to Rendering Elements, hit Add, select Alpha, and select where you want that to be saved, and then a separate file will be made for the alpha, which you can then set if you're combining them in a separate program afterwards.